Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. We are in a game week, people, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everyone had a great Labor Day. It is the first episode of the week. It is a Tuesday, and the Bucs have a regular season football game.
Woohoo!
That is exciting. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is SR Scott Reynolds, also pewterreport.com. Scott, the Bucs are playing Sunday night in prime time, and it feels amazing. How about you?
Yeah, it certainly does. This has been a long time coming. This has been a long, tumultuous offseason. We're not going to go through all of the offseason retirements and unretirements and changes. You know, you've kept up on that on pewterreport.com and our Pewter Report podcast. We're going to get to some Pewter predictions. And I think that we've got an action-packed show for you. I feel like, Matt, and it only makes sense that this would be the best Pewter Report podcast we've ever done. I mean, why wouldn't it? We're kicking off game week here to start the 2022 season. So it makes perfect sense that this would be the greatest Pewter Report podcast we've ever done.
Yeah, the Bucs play the Cowboys this week, a regular season game, a game that matters, ladies and gentlemen. So that's always super important. And if you're drinking an energy drink, the only one that matters is a Celsius energy drink. Of course, Celsius is the title sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast, and we love Celsius for multiple different reasons, including the variety of flavors that they have, from the sparkling wild berry to the sparkling watermelon. So many different flavors. And of course, the vibes are always high, whether it's the Arctic vibe, tropical vibe, or the peach vibe. So many fantastic flavors, 7 essential vitamins, and more importantly, gives you that fuel that you need to get through your day, through a workout, whatever obstacle is in your way, whatever challenge. Make sure you're drinking a Celsius energy drink. Go to their store locator on the Celsius website. Find out where there is a Celsius located near you, or buy them in bulk. I recommend the variety pack, because variety is the spice of life. You buy them on Amazon, have it set up every 2-3 weeks to your house or apartment. Whatever it is, that's fine. Just make sure you are drinking Celsius energy drink, the providing sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast. Celsius, live fit.
Yeah, Matt. I was living fit out in Manhattan, Kansas. So I went out there to see my daughter Ellie and saw the Kansas State Wildcats open the season with a win. And I was drinking Celsius out there too. Because why? Because I went to Celsius.com, clicked on the store locator. You don't have to look far, folks, to find our predictions. I came out with some on pewterreport.com and SR's Fab 5 column on Friday. I know it was a busy holiday weekend. Hopefully y'all enjoyed some Pirate Republic beer over the Labor Day weekend and had some good times. JC Allen also came out with 10 bold predictions yesterday. So if you missed those, we'll kind of get to those. And even before that, Matt, we had our Pewter Report roundtable, not today's on pewterreport.com, but the one last week. We all put out our predictions of how we think this Buccaneer team is going to do. So let's get to those real quick. And then we've got some exciting news about this game coming up. But right off the bat, Bailey Adams. Oh, ever the optimist, Bailey Adams.
Yeah.
13-4. He believes that despite a harder schedule and the loss of a couple Pro Bowlers up front in Ryan Jensen and Ali Marpet, that the Buccaneers are going to be just as good as they were last year, 13-4. I'm guessing Bailey has them winning the division too. I don't see the New Orleans Saints being 14-3 with that type of prediction from the Bucs. You and J.C. Allen and Casey Hudson and Josh Capo all had the Bucs taking one little step back at 12-5, understandably, because the Bucs are facing some real challenges on the schedule this year. I'm the negative Nancy, I guess.
Yeah, what the heck,
Matt.
man?
Yeah,
usually you're pretty optimistic, but 11-6. Surprised the people aren't coming with with angry fists heading towards you.
The pitchforks and the torches are out for me. I will remind everybody that the Buccaneers won the 2020 Super Bowl with only 11 wins. So, and they didn't win it last year at 13. So it's not what the record is in the regular season. It's once you get to the postseason, what you do. Of course, what you do in the regular season matters because you have to get into the postseason. And usually, Matt, the better you are in terms of your regular season, you get those home playoff games. The Bucs didn't really think that was important in 2020. They went on the road to win the Super Bowl in all of those games, from Washington to New Orleans to Green Bay, before coming home for the Super Bowl in 2020. Last year, they started off at home. And Matt, how did that end?
Well, the start of the season ended in dramatic fashion by beating the Cowboys, who they are playing this year in the first game of the season on a late kick. But just as dramatic, if not even more dramatic, even though the Bucs had a second home playoff game after trouncing the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, dramatic fashion, just the way the Bucs went down 27-3, climbed all the way back, because when you have Tom Brady, you're never out of it. The defense started causing turnovers. Leonard Fournette scored a late touchdown, but with 42 seconds left, Todd Bowles sent the blitz, and that sent the Bucs into the offseason.
Yeah.
As Matt Stafford connected with Cooper Kupp, that set up a chip shot of a field goal for even Matt Gay, who had his struggles with the Bucs, comes back and haunts the Bucs there. And I mean, you never know with the playoffs, because it seemed like, okay, the Bucs, they're going to beat the Rams. They get over that. They make this comeback. Then they're going to play, the 49ers back in Tampa. They're going to win that and go to the Super Bowl. But we see it from the Green Bay Packers, getting the number 1 seed doesn't always matter, because seems like they drop the ball every single year, despite having a bye or having great games at home. So you never know, but I still lean on the side of it's important to have that home field advantage. The Bucs got lucky.
Yeah.
2020, there weren't fans in the arena. So, those road games, maybe not the Washington one, but the one against the Saints and Green Bay, could be a little bit different with fans in the crowd. But nonetheless, you can't take the Super Bowl away from the Bucs.
It might be. We've got more predictions coming up, but right now we have a super chat from Leo. I always appreciate those super chats from Leo and from everybody else. Brady motivating our O-line by showing them some clips from the media. I think even the ever optimist Bailey Adams, Mr. 13-4, wrote an article saying that the Bucs interior offensive line was a weakness. So maybe a Pewter Report article made it into Tom Brady's hands, and he was showing the likes of Robert Hainsey and Luke Gedeke and Shaq Mason and all those guys on the offensive line. As Leo says, shouldn't be hard. Skip Bayless has trashed Hainsey and Luke a dozen times already. I think that it remains to be seen if these guys can hold up to the task. What concerns me, and we'll get more to this tomorrow on tomorrow's show, where we're going to be diving into the Bucs Cowboys preview hard and heavy. Good friend of the program, Rick Zoyce, will be here talking about the Cowboys. He is a Cowboys aficionado. And so he's got the breakdown and the lowdown on his team, the Dallas Cowboys. So tomorrow we're going to have our Bucs Cowboys game preview with Rick Zoyce, and he'll be coming to us via the podcast, and we're looking forward to that. But to get back to Leo's point, I think that this offensive line is going to be tested by Micah Parsons up the middle, right? I mean, I think that's going to be a real key. I want to see this offensive line really establish the run, and I like what the Bucs did in both of the preseason games, Matt, that Leonard Fournette came out and played in, and that was a first down run on both of those. So I don't mind first down runs when they go for 10 yards or more, and maybe we'll see the Buccaneers try to come out, establish the run, and get those Cowboys pass rushers a little winded, so they can't get after Tom Brady and try to exploit that interior part of the offensive line for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, that's one way to neutralize a great pass rush, especially when you're going up against one of the best pass rushers in the game. I don't think he surpassed, TJ Watt yet or anyone like that. But Micah Parsons, of course, is a huge problem on any team. So one way to neutralize that, of course, is running the ball. And to your point, like as dreadful as the run game was in that last preseason game against the Colts, even when some of the, when I guess Hainsey and Gedeke, the two guys that are going to be under a microscope for pretty much all of the season, while they struggled when like Rashad White was in the game, when Leonard Fournette was in there, they were running the ball quite well. So I do think when you have all the starters in there with Tom Brady being able to command certain things, whether it's throwing the ball quickly, then that can help set up the run. I'm certainly skeptical of how the offensive line is going to look, because you can only go by so much with Hainsey and Gedeke. You're asking a second-year guy and a rookie to, really help solidify this offensive line that, of course, has a ton of talent around it. And that's been the theme of the Bucs are going to run the ball more this season, keep Tom Brady fresh. We'll see how that goes week one. It's crazy with Dallas, and we'll talk about this more in tomorrow's podcast. But going into the opener last year, we were like, oh, the Bucs are going to score like 40 points. The defense is terrible. And then obviously they draft Micah Parsons and Diggs.
Dan Quinn did a number pretty quickly, did he not?
Dan Quinn did his thing. So This year, it's almost the exact opposite, where it's like, damn, like the Cowboys got a good defense, but they're hurting on offense. So might be able to take advantage of them in that situation. But yeah, definitely Gedeke and Hainsey, as I said, they're going to be under a microscope for not just Sunday night, but the entire season.
Yeah, it doesn't get easier the next week when you're talking about that New Orleans Saints defensive line either. But they're going to get a good battle test here at the beginning. That line, I believe, is going to improve as the season goes along. It's not going to be perfect on Sunday night. But one thing that will be perfect on Sunday night is the Celsius Pewter Report tailgate show presented by Age Rejuvenation live at Walk-Ons. That's right, folks. We're taking our Pewter pregame show. We're rebranding it the Celsius Pewter Report tailgate show, and it's going to be live every single Sunday, home or away, at Walk-Ons Sports Bistro and Bar. And this week's show, Sunday night, is going to be at the Wesley Chapel location, just down the street from my house. So myself, JC Allen, and we're going to have former Bucs tight end John Gilmore. He is going to be joining us all season long as a guest analyst live at the Walk-Ons. And we're going to be at Walk-Ons Wesley Chapel this Sunday, 2 hours prior to kickoff. So our show's going to start at 6:30. That's right, 6:30 pregame. And that's going to take you all the way up to Pewter Game Day. That's right, it's back. Live in-game analysis Sunday starting at 8:20. We're going to have Matt Matera. Matt, you're going to be hosting Pewter Game Day this year along with Casey Hudson. That's going to be exciting. We're looking forward to your analysis and seeing Casey and hearing her analysis during the game. I know you get a little animated, Matt. Always makes for a great show when big things happen, like your infamous Jets call last year, which is exciting. So we're really excited that you're going to have this opportunity to host the Pewter Game Day show. So that's right, folks. Be with us Sunday on our YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV. We're also going to be streaming the show on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. But make sure that you are logged in and subscribe to our Pewter Report TV channel on YouTube, and tune in at 6:30 every show, 2 hours prior to kickoff, or come see us live out at Walk-Ons as well. We're going to be having some giveaways. If you want to try some Celsius, they're going to be out there. We'll have some Pewter Report swag to give away as well, in addition to Celsius. And then we're going to have Age Rejuvenation on site too, and they're one of our newer sponsors. And we're excited to tell you more about Age Rejuvenation. They have a host of ways to help you guys, and here's one of them.
At Age Rejuvenation, we have a lot of interest about erectile dysfunction in men.
It's not like my sex life was dormant, but you can always improve.
I was having an adverse effect on my marriage and was very happy with the results.
We have various treatment programs available to enhance their physical abilities that can improve blood flow and sensitivity.
The pulse wave has made it so much better.
It's been a significant improvement. The good news was that I heard it from my wife.
Stop waiting. Start doing Age Rejuvenation.
That's right. There's retired Buccaneer John Gilmore. He is not only going to be joining us on the Pewter Report tailgate show, sponsored by Celsius and presented by Age Rejuvenation, he's also an Age Rejuvenation customer. Guys, if you want to feel better, go to Age Rejuvenation. Lose weight, feel great, have better sex. You might have seen Age Rejuvenation as the new sponsor of my PewterReport.com column, SR's Fab 5. Well, I'm a new Age Rejuvenation customer myself. Thankfully, don't have any issues in the bedroom, but I did turn 50 this year, and energy has been a problem. I get tired more often. I understand the whole nap philosophy now because I'm an old man. Well, it turns out I have low testosterone like most men in their 40s and 50s. It's just nature, fellas. Low testosterone affects everything from weight loss to energy to stamina. But now there's a way to fight it. And that's what I'm doing with the testosterone therapy at Age Rejuvenation. And I've been doing this now for about a month. I do feel more energy. I feel like it's working. And that's a great thing. It's going to keep working for me for the next 5 months. Visit agerejuvenation.com for more information or to get a free consultation. Age Rejuvenation has got 5 Tampa Bay area locations to serve you. Lose weight, feel great, have better sex with Age Rejuvenation.
Shout out to Age Rejuvenation. Very excited that they are another sponsor of the podcast. And again, check out SR's Fab 5 every single week. Age Rejuvenation will be sponsoring them as well. I just want to say I'm really looking forward to the tailgate show and, of course, the live stream that I'll be on You guys always have great info, and I promise the viewers I will bring my energy, I will bring my effort. And
you're much
the
younger
Bucs,
than me, Matt. You
yeah.
don't need age rejuvenation just yet, but you will in time.
Shout out to Ben here. Thank you so much for the super chat. So we have another one in there as well that we will get to. If you guys super chat us, we will answer your question right away. So thank you, Ben. He says, please rank this year's offensive weapons versus last year's. Pick your own type of scale to rank them against each other.
Okay.
This would be solely based on how they looked on paper going into the season. I prefer to use the figure skating score out of 10. So
okay.
I will be giving decimal points.
Okay. All right.
With my answers. Well, let's see. Some is different, of course, but some is the same. So I don't know exactly where you want to start.
Well, what I'm going to say is this. I'm going to say Mike Evans is as good as ever. To me, he's a 10. He's a Pro Bowler, and it's the same as the one last year. I think Chris Godwin is not as healthy as he was. Remember, he had a touchdown catch in week 1 last year against the Cowboys. I would put him at a 7.5 right now, where he was probably a 9.5 last year. Rob Gronkowski no longer here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Julio Jones makes up for some of those catches, especially touchdowns in the red zone. I think he's another big-bodied, 6'3", 220-pound target down there in the red zone. So I almost think that's a wash, just because both those players, Gronk's now, 32, 33, and Julio's 33. I think Cade Otton's going to be a surprise this year. We'll talk about Cade more in just a minute. Russell Gage, I think he can actually be as good, if not better, than an aging Antonio Brown, who got hurt last year. Then he got suspended. Then he just quit on the team. I don't see Russell Gage getting suspended or quitting on the team. Will he get hurt? I don't know. Football's a contact sport, Matt. But I like the prospects of at least Russell Gage having the opportunity, due to not quitting on the team and not being suspended, that he has a chance to play in more games than Antonio Brown did last year. And if he plays in more games, he's going to be more productive. So I think that's actually an upgrade. I think Lenny is Lenny from a year ago. I think Rashad White, who is now the number 2 running back on the depth chart,
I was thinking.
I think he's better than Rojo. So when you look at Tom Brady's weaponry, I like the collective parts and the individual parts a lot better than last year's team.
Yeah, I think this year's model is maybe not as flashy as it was last year, but that doesn't mean it's going to hurt. And I think it is a very apples to oranges type of thing. But Antonio Brown, straight out just talent and at his age, was like, an 8.5, maybe even like a 9.1. But when you factor in AB and the injury history, the suspension, and then leaving the team, when you factor all of that in, his overall production is more like, maybe like a 6.5. So I think having Russell Gage, if it's just Russell Gage's talent versus Antonio Brown, Brown's going to win that. But if you talk about Russell Gage's availability, or even if you want to add in Julio Jones and Russell Gage versus Antonio Brown, I'd rather take Gage and Jones just for what they can do for this team. Now, Jones, again, it kind of goes back into the injury history, but if he's playing on a pitch count, I don't think he's going to miss as much time. So Gage and Jones together, I think, is right around that, 8.5, 8.7, type of markup there. The tight end position, and I agree with you full-heartedly with, Rashad White in there as the second running back versus Ronald Jones. I mean, that's like a 10 versus a 3. Maybe not a 10 because it's a rookie running back, but it's a solid 7.5 versus a 4.5.
Okay.
Is
that what the Russian judges said too?
I haven't checked with them yet.
Okay.
I'm a one-man show over here in my judging.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the tight end position, listen, there's no replacing Gronk, but you take a sum of all the parts and you get a replacement in Gronk in that sense. I'm very excited about Cade Otton. Keith obviously can play a little bit of fullback, going to be a lead blocker. That's a new element into this offense that you weren't really going to get with Gronk much last year anyway. And then I don't really have my sights set too much on Kyle Rudolph, but as you said, with Jones picking up some of the slack in the red zone, and Cam Braid has always been a red zone target, it's not going to add up to the production of Gronk. But I think if you take a little bit of all the talents of the tight ends, it's not a drastic drop as I think some people are really expecting.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. We have another super chat here before we get to our predictions. And actually, folks, it's 4:20, so I'm going to hold on that super chat. It's not a Monday. We're going to go back to our regularly scheduled programs of Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's the typical Pewter Report weekday podcast lineup. But because of the Labor Day holiday, we worked yesterday, just didn't do a podcast. So we're doing it today. So we're going to treat it like a Monday, Matt. And why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we give the people what they want, which is
roll call? Tell us where you're at, Pewter people. We got awesome fans all over the globe, not just the state, the globe, watching the Pewter Report podcast. We love our people in Tampa, but we also love our people that are watching in the United States, in other countries. I know we got people in Europe, Brazil, China. We got fans all over the place. So start telling us where you're at, where you're watching from.
Yeah, and if you want to throw in a prediction too, you can put the city where you're watching or listening to the podcast, as well as a prediction, right? We're not going to read the predictions out there, but you can go on record. Yeah, we don't mind that at all. Of course, Xi Jinping from Beijing, we appreciate the Communist China Party leader taking time from his busy schedule to tune into the Pewter Report podcast. And we had some Georgia, some LA, little Tampa love, of course, New York, Illinois. We're all over the place, Matt. We love it. We love to find out. We got Costa Rica. There you go, Greg.
Shout out Greg.
Us. Yeah,
big win for Florida State this week.
It was, yes. Kansas State got a win. UCF got a win. I think everybody but Josh Capo's USF Bulls won this weekend, right? Even
they got obliterated. It was 28. First of all, that game got delayed so long. Like, it was supposed to be a 4:00 game.
They should have just canceled it. I think, really. So,
what's up? Yeah,
I think they should have just canceled it. So we got Jim out there from Finland. We always appreciate that. We love our Tampa Bay area listeners and viewers. We also love, as Matt said, people from around the world, the international folks as well.
See a little Scotland
greatly
in
appreciate
there.
that. Yeah, Sean's over here in Wesley Chapel, my neck of the woods. That's where we're going to be at on Sunday. Come out and see us, Sean, for the Pewter Report tailgate show, sponsored by Celsius and presented by Age Rejuvenation.
Yeah, and another fun thing about walk-ons too is that the Wesley Chapel one and the Midtown, while there's obviously similarities, it's the same restaurant, but there's things that are like very different about both too, which I think is exciting because each one makes their own place a little bit more special for you to go over there. So definitely recommend checking out both, because while they are similar, there are some differences too that I'd be curious.
I think Mark Cook would love the mullet. I not growing it out just for Cook, but I think he would definitely appreciate it. Kind of going for that 1988 prom look that I had back in the day. I've almost kind of recreated it. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you. We'll do a Pewter Report roll call again next Monday. So awesome. We appreciate everybody participating, and let's get some of our predictions, Matt, because this is the prediction show. This is where we put it all out on the line. I've already gotten crucified for my 11-6 prediction. Hope I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not trying to have the Buccaneers lose every week, but I just got to look at it the way I see it. And I see a much more difficult schedule. Listen, if Ryan Jensen is the center for this team, and I'm not knocking Robert Hainsey, I think Hainsey will be a good center in time. But right off the bat, you're talking about Dan Quinn and the Dallas Cowboys. They know how to attack up front. And even though their defensive tackles aren't anything to write home about, you're going to see Micah Parsons standing right over the center of the guards in that A or B gap. And he's going to be bringing some pressure right up the middle, just like Todd Bowles likes to do with Devon White. Then again, you got David Onyemata and Demario Davis with some of those A-gap blitzes that are going to test Gedeke and Hainsey right off the bat. So I think losing Ryan Jensen might end up costing this team a win or two in my mind, just because Jensen is an elite center. But we'll see. Let's get to some of the other predictions. So let's start off with some of the predictions I had in SR's Fab 5 from Friday. Matt, I'm going to throw these out there and get your reaction. Offensive MVP. Well, if it's not Tom Brady, the Bucs might be in trouble, right? I mean, it pretty much has to be Tom Brady, because this is a wide receiver driven offense where the quarterback is the trigger man. We've seen what Brady can do. Heck, we even saw what Jameis Winston can do in the first year under Bruce Arians' offense. 5,000 yards, 33 touchdowns. Unfortunately, 7 more touchdowns he threw were to the other team, but that was a long time ago. But what we've seen Brady do is just be incredibly efficient, with 40 and 43 touchdowns in each of the last 2 years. I think he needs 29 touchdowns this year, if my math is correct. And then he he has the Bucs all-time touchdown record. That's an amazing feat for a quarterback who's been there 3 years.
It's mind-boggling, and you wonder why people still ask, like, "Oh, should he be in the Bucs Ring of Honor?" Well, it's like, yeah, besides the fact that he won the Super Bowl, he's not just breaking, like, all-time NFL records, which, of course, he is when he's played in the league for over 2 decades, but he's breaking Bucs franchise records, and it's like, if you don't have the franchise record holder in your Ring of Honor, then, like, why do you even really have a Ring of Honor in the first place? So, I completely agree with you with Tom Brady. I mean, a lot of the time in the NFL, if your quarterback isn't playing at a high level, you're probably not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And we know Tom Brady, plucked this team from obscurity when he chose the Bucs in that 2020 season. They went on to win the Super Bowl. So obviously, if Brady has another Brady-like season, which is what we saw last season, where, he led the league in touchdowns, he had over 5,000 yards passing, just being an aficionado on offense. And I think this year, too, as we talked about with the fact that, teams are going to be playing a lot of zone because they're not going to know how to line up with all these talented receivers once they're fully healthy and on the field together. Yeah. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of like the old school Patriots Brady that we saw, with maybe not as much downfield things, but just methodical, surgical, carving up defenses. Longer drives and then just the typical splash play that we've seen from the Bucs. But nonetheless, I think like completions percentage is still going to be very high. And he's going to throw.
Bucs are going to run the ball. I'd be shocked if Brady throws for 5,000 yards this year. I just don't think they want him to drop back.
Yeah, I think his stats might be down a little bit, but that doesn't mean that the team isn't going to be performing well. It's just how they're going to attack defenses and how they're going to prepare just not to get beat horrifically.
Yeah, he's still going to be money in the red zone. He'll still put up 40 plus touchdowns. I think that's a given. Speaking of money, let's get back to Tony's super chat, $9.99. Thanks so much, Tony. We appreciate your super chat. Teams can't run on us. They are one-dimensional, yet our pass defense looks lost most of the time. Is it scheme or talent? LFG leaving for Dallas Saturday morning. I think it's mostly talent last year. Remember, Pierre Desir started a couple games. D. Delaney started a couple games. Richard Sherman came off the street and started a couple games. This team was without Carlton Davis, their top cornerback, for half the season. Sean Murphy-Bunting also missed half the season. Jamel Dean missed a couple games. They're having to play Ross Cockrell in the corner. That didn't work out too well. Ross no longer even on the team. Yeah. So I want to say that with a healthier complement of cornerbacks and another year in the system for those younger players, I think the Buccaneers are going to be better in the secondary. It's going to be tougher to throw on them. Todd Bowles doesn't care about completions. He just wants you to get off the field on third down. That means stopping the run on first and second down, getting into third and long, which it tips off the defense and they know that a pass is coming. Then go out there and defend it. Get some pressure, cause an incompletion, and get off the field. That's what this defense is all about. And speaking of defense, Matt, Devon White, I got him as the defensive MVP. He is the quarterback of the defense and another team captain and a first-time Pro Bowler. I like what I saw this year, Matt, in the joint practices. It's one thing to do it in practice when you know what the Buccaneers' plays are. But when the Dolphins came to town, and I was up there in Tennessee with Josh Capo, and we're watching Devon White, he is covering tight ends and running backs out of the backfield on pass routes like a blanket. He has shown so much improvement. I think that's the key to him being a complete linebacker this year, because he's going to get a handful of sacks with those A-gap blitzes. I think he's taken everything to heart that Larry Foote has said. He wants to be better. I really think this guy is going to become a true Pro Bowl player this year. What do you think, man?
I think he's the X factor for this defense for sure. If they get a 2020 version of Devon White with even better coverage, I think this defense can, without question, be a top 5, if not a top 3. If Devin, the key is, like, we've seen the strides, it's just maintaining it throughout a season. Like, I don't really care if he was great in a training camp practice against the Dolphins, if it just means he's going to fall for the play action and get carved up by like Jameis in week 2. So while he's proved a lot and taken a big step, I do want to see all of that occur in a game. And I think it will. I think Devon White obviously is a very prideful guy. He's a team captain for a reason. Like, he obviously cares and wants to do, the the best for his teammates around him, let alone himself. He's still going to be flying around everywhere, and I do think his coverage has improved. But we kind of said that last year in training camp as well, and never truly came to fruition during the season. So I do think he can take that step for everything that you said with Larry Foote in there as the inside linebackers coach.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, and I think part of it is because he's coming off an injury, but if I'm taking a Bucs MVP, I was thinking about Joe Tryon-Shoyinka a little bit, but I think I would have to go with Levante David, because I think a fully healthy Levante David that gets back to creating turnovers, as we talked about, that's going to be the difference for the Bucs defense that we kind of missed last year. It's like the timely takeaways, the big turnovers. And Lavonte, even with not making too many splash plays, was still in there, trying to get that ball out. And with the secondary that drops it,
he did in the Rams game, playing at 60% with that bum wheel that he had.
Yeah,
he still caused a huge fumble, and that was one of the key turnovers during the Bucs' failed comeback attempt against the Rams. But I'm with you. I think if Levante David can come back, and it's funny, when I was flying out to Kansas on Thursday night, I ran into Levante at the airport, and he just has it in his eye, man. He's healthy. He's in a contract year. He wants to prove, like Tom Brady, that he's an old man, not as old as Brady, but he's older, especially for a linebacker. You got to run around. You need that speed that he can still play. One thing that we saw from Levante David was the instincts are as sharp as ever, and where the mind led, the body followed. He came up with 2 red zone interceptions on Tom Brady in practice.
Yeah.
A, Tom Brady does not throw interceptions in practice. B, if they happen, they're not in the red zone, where he has yet to throw an interception in a regular season game in Tampa. He has not thrown a red zone interception. That's amazing. Plus, he's thrown a bunch of touchdowns. But that's where Levante David shows up. He is a spark plug for this defense. And he even came out and said at the end of the season press conference, he was not the splashy player last year he wanted to be. He wants to get back to that standard and prove to this team he's still deserving of a contract. He's not done playing football yet. He still has a lot of good plays left in him. Special teams MVP, you kind of have to give it to Ryan Suckup by default, right?
Agreed.
You got Rashad White, who if you hadn't read PewterReport.com's Bailey Adams, he's got a new article up that details the new depth chart. And Rashad White is going to be the kick returner, taking those duties away from Jalen Darden. But Jalen Darden will be the punt returner for this team. So you've got a rookie kick returner, a second-year punt return guy who's kind of unproven. Then you've got a rookie punter in Jake Camarda. You got the old man, Ryan Suckup, who beat out Jose Borregales for the kicking duties. So isn't it kind of his MVP by default, unless he just misses a bunch of kicks?
Yeah, the only thing that could change that is, one, if Jake Camarda, all of a sudden turns into Ray Guy, who's the Hall of Fame punter in the NFL. Optimistic for Camarda, but not Hall of Fame level as a rookie. The other thing that could really throw a whole wrench into it is if someone turns into Grant Stewart this year and becomes like a huge special teams ace that is getting all these tackles, or being the first gunner down there that is able to pin the ball deep on some of the Camarda punts. That could throw it if we're just talking about strictly winning the MVPs. And then you mentioned the returners. I would almost rather Darden and White like flip-flop, and rather have White as the punt returner and Darden as the kick returner. And I just think it's because Darden, I can't go through another season of him like automatically slipping as soon as he gets the ball, where Rashad is going to have that vision of being a running back that has to find the hole in the first place. And I just feel at this point in today's NFL, the punt return is a little bit more important than the kick return, because half the time they just kick the ball out of bounds on the kickoff anyway. You get a touchback and you're starting at the 25, where punt return, depending on where you are on the field, you can flip a game like a lot quicker with a better return. And I just think I'd rather go with someone that I kind of feel like what we see in Darden is what we're going to get as a returner. I don't see a huge ceiling for improvement there. If he proves me wrong, that's awesome. Hats off to him. But I'd rather go with White, who again is still unproven. He had a good kick return. I believe it was the Tennessee game.
Yeah, 33 yards.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd rather tap into that potential just a little bit more, see if anything's there. And then if it doesn't go to plan, just go back to Darden as the punt returner. No harm, no foul.
I hear what you're saying, Matt. I'm reading between the lines. You're talking about tap, and you're saying that Darden drives you to drink. Well, folks, if you're going to drink a beer, make it Pewter Report's official beer, which is Pirate Republic. That's right, brewed in the Bahamas. Listen, you guys love your football team that are nothing but pirates. That makes you a pirate too. So why don't you drink pirate beer? That's right, Pewter Report's official beer, Pirate Republic. It's got 3 amazing beers to choose from here in the Tampa Bay area and spreading all across the state of Florida. The Long John Pilsner, the Take No Quarter IPA, and the Golden Haze of Piracy. Folks, make sure that you stock up on Pirate Republic before kickoff. This is a big football weekend with Thursday night football kicking off between the Rams and the Bills. Then you've got college football Saturday, and of course your Bucs play Sunday night football. So this is the time this week to stock up on the Pirate Republic beer. Let's talk real quick about the Take No Quarter IPA. Folks, I am not an IPA fan whatsoever, but this IPA has changed my mind. Matter of fact, it's the only IPA I like, but part of the reason it packs a punch, 7.2% ABV. It's their flagship IPA. Vienna and caramel malts provide a rich backbone as Amarillo, Centennial, and Cascade hops come to the forefront. Citrus, pine, grapefruit flavors bring out the taste. It's dry hopped with Pacific Jade to add notes of blackberry and pepper for aroma. Folks, it's as good as it sounds. So where can you find Pirate Republic, the official beer of Pewter Report? Well, you can find them at participating Total Wine and More, ABC Liquors, Lucan's Liquors, and Party Liquors in the Tampa Bay area. Drink like a pirate. Live life on your own terms with Pirate Republic.
And to our Pewter people out there, if you're drinking Pirate Republic on the weekend or whatever it may be, send us a tweet showing that you're having some Pirate Republic. We love when the fans send us pictures of when they're using our products. We love interacting with the fans. Yeah. So if you're doing that, just
speaking of Pirates, let's talk about the Pewter Pro Bowl Pirates here. The names that I have. The Bucs had 9 Pewter Pirates in the Pro Bowl last year, right? Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Tristan Wirfs, Vita, Shaq Barrett, Devin White, Antoine Winfield. All of those guys were in the Pro Bowl last year. Not playing in the game per se, but they had Pro Bowl honors, either due to the fact they were voted in or they were injury replacements. But the 2 guys that aren't on the list this year, one is Ryan Jensen, who's on IR. The other is Ali Marpet, who retired. Any of those names, Matt, that I put up there in my predictions that you disagree with? Do you think that all 7 make it? You add another player or 2 that I don't have on my list?
Yeah, I don't really have any disagreements with anyone that you have on the list. I mean, they've all been perennial Pro Bowlers and have all made the Pro Bowl with the Bucs. I mean, Mike Evans has been there for years now. Shaq Barrett's been there 2 out of the 3 years he's been with the Bucs. Devon White, again, flashy player that the people like. He had a down year and he still made the Pro Bowl. And Antoine Winfield Jr. making his first last year. Now he's getting to that consideration of, okay, he made a Pro Bowl. Now he should be considered for All-Pro, and we'll see how that goes, especially with him playing more as a nickel. Really only like 2 guys that I would also consider putting on this list, and obviously a couple things have to bounce their way. But, of course, one of them I already mentioned, Levante David. I think if he gets back to playing at the caliber of guy that he is, I mean, we saw former Bucs and Bucs fans getting angry that Levante David wasn't on the top 100 NFL players. I think the more that people knock on the door for Levante David, if he has another good season, that could, catapult into a Pro Bowl selection. And then you mentioned a lot of the offensive linemen not going to be back in the Pro Bowl this year because of Ryan Jensen being injured and Ali Marpet retiring. What about Donovan Smith? I mean, we've said a little bit, we've said for a little while on this show that Donovan
he's
Smith,
a Pro Bowl caliber player.
Pro Bowl caliber player. Obviously, a lot of it, the voting, takes place. But if the Bucs have a season where Tom Brady isn't getting hit a ton, given all of the, the drama with the offensive line we've talked about with Hainsey and Gedeke, if he's relatively upright and keeping his jersey clean, people already know Tristan Wirfs, but they're gonna point to Donovan Smith and say, hey, this guy deserves some credit too. He's blocking his blind side, and Tom Brady's having just as good of a year with a less talented offensive line. Let's give Donovan Smith some credit. I know there's other great tackles in the NFC, and that's mostly been the battle for Donovan Smith in terms of
and with Tyron Smith not being available for the Cowboys, that takes him out of consideration. He was a multi-year Pro Bowler as well. rounding out my pewter predictions, I've got the leading sacker, Shaq Barrett. You agree with that, Matt, or you think that somebody else wrests the crown away from Shaq, who led the team last year with 10 en route to his second Pro Bowl season?
I think Shaq's going to get it. I think Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is going to be breathing down his neck, getting close to Shaq. And I wouldn't be surprised if Devon White, while his main responsibility isn't just going to be sacks, I do see his sack number jumping up to kind of where it was around the 2020 season when I believe he had 9.5. And if he didn't get COVID, would have got double-digit sacks. I see Devin kind of being in the running for that competition as well.
Exactly. I got Mike Edwards as the leading interceptor. Edwards has got 5 interceptions in the last 2 years combined, 3 of which led the team last year. He had 2 in one game, both of which were pick sixes in the week 2 win at Tampa Bay against the Falcons. And Edwards was the NFC Defensive Player of the Week award for that week. And now with more playing time, he was a part-time player, and I wrote about it over the holiday weekend. If you have a chance, read that Mike Edwards article. Really good stuff from Edwards. He said he has not dropped an interception since his rookie season against the Giants. When he did drop one that would have been a pick six, he said, I'm just not going to do it. He's got the most reliable hands on the team. We know that Carlton Davis struggles to catch the ball. So does Jamel Dean. Mm-hmm. Both those guys, that they could hang on to the ball, would be in the Pro Bowl. But that's a numbers game, right, for those cornerbacks. So I think Edwards, just based on more playing time, I think that he's going to win this again. He's just a ball hawk that's in the right place at the right time.
I would put him as the best odds just based on process of elimination, as you said, that the Bucs secondary has so many issues with dropping other passes. Like, okay, well, all you have to do is catch 3 and you're probably good to go and to be the leader. It would not shock me if Antoine Winfield Jr. is in the mix there too. He obviously had the most athletic interception last year when he jumped over Michael Pittman to
mossed him.
When he mossed him there.
Yeah.
And then moving to the slot, obviously that changes things where, sometimes a tip ball at the line of scrimmage, he'd be more, apparent there to get the interception. We saw Sean Murphy Bunting when he went on his interception run in the playoffs. Some of that was just the beneficiary of like a pass that was a little behind or whatever the case was. So I'd like to see if Antoine Winfield Jr. can kind of take advantage of those type of situations where a little more inaccurate passes that aren't like 10, 15 yards down the field that, as a safety, he'd be able to get to, but now playing the slot role. I'd put him as a guy with an opportunity there to lead the team. Also not totally sure. We'll have to see how much Logan Ryan and Keanu Neal, like what specifically their role is going to be in this defense. We obviously know that they'll be playing and get on the field. But I think Ryan, depending on how specifically he's utilized, and I'm sure it'll change game by game, I would put him as a dark horse to potentially lead the team. Obviously, he bases his game, or one of his idols was Rondé Barber, and Rondé did a pretty good job of taking the ball away. So I'm sure that's something that he wants to put as a feather in his cap as well.
Yeah, I saw Rondé over the weekend out of Kansas State.
You saw everyone this weekend.
I did, yeah. Rondé was out of K-State. His daughter Justice dates RJ Garcia, who is a redshirt freshman wide receiver for the Wildcats. Played at Berkeley Prep here in Tampa, and I coached RJ in Pop Warner football, South Pasco Predators. And he had a nice 17-yard catch, so it was cool to catch up with Rondé. He's very high on this Buccaneer team, high on Logan Ryan, as you mentioned. Also, too, shout out to Wade Woodaz, another South Pasco Predator kid that I coached. So proud of Wade last night. Backup linebacker, number 17 for the Clemson Tigers, blocked a punt in his first game. He is a true freshman linebacker for the Clemson Tigers. And he played last year at Jesuit, helping them win the state championship next to Troy Bowles, Todd Bowles' son. Troy's going to Georgia next year. So the South Pasco Predators had a really good weekend. And Rocco Becht, who is Anthony Becht's son. I coached him for 1 year with the South Pasco Predators. He was part of our team and our quarterback. He was a quarterback at Wiregrass Ranch High School, got recruited by Iowa State, and actually got on the field as a true freshman in mop-up time and threw a pass or two. So all 3 of those kids that I coached now playing D1 ball, and it's so cool to see them all get on the field this weekend and have some success. Obviously, I like RJ the best because he chose wisely, went to Kansas State. and helped us win 34-0. But speaking of receivers, Chris Godwin, leading receiver, why wouldn't he be the leading wide receiver? Didn't even finish the year. Only played in 13 out of the 14 games, maybe 13 games and a quarter. And he still led the team with catches and yards. Even Mike Evans couldn't catch him. Do you see that playing out this year? We know Mike's going to get the touchdown receptions. We're not talking about TD receivers. We're talking about catches and yards. I think Chris Godwin, by nature of the slot position, he's going to get that spot, is he not?
If Chris Godwin shows no ill effects from, recovering from his ACL injury, and that's a huge if, obviously, anyone that didn't see the video, we put out a video on Pewter Report TV of Chris Godwin warming up, testing out that knee in pretty much every single way possible.
With no brace.
Knee brace on.
Yeah.
No brace. Very, very important. That was some of the big news to come out of Monday's Labor Day practice. If he has no ill effects from those injuries and he plays week 1, then yeah, he will lead the team in catches this season. I don't fully think, just based on his interview that he did on a podcast recently, based on some of Todd Bowles' answers.
He's not a lock to play, right? He's not a lock to play on Sunday night.
He's not a lock to play. And Scott, as you've mentioned on this show, that Godwin could very much be on a pitch count for that first game of the season. I think it could be even more than just the first game of the season. So if he's on a pitch count for a little bit, I wouldn't bet on him to be like the number one, receiver in terms of making catches on the team this year. I think I would kind of lean towards Russell Gage. That will take that Chris Godwin role if Chris Godwin's not in there. We know what Mike's going to do. Obviously, the best red zone target in the history of Tampa Bay Buccaneers football. So like Mike's going to do his thing, but obviously defenses, they'll put the number one guy on Mike. He gets doubled all the time. That's why you see the stats like when he finally gets single coverage, he like dominates everyone. He never gets it. So in that case, I think it could be Russell Gage just based on the injury factor when it comes to Chris Godwin.
Yeah, I agree. And we're sticking with the offense for the best rookie. Now, Luke Gedeke has got the most opportunity because he is a starter. He's going to play more than any rookie is going to play. But I don't know that Gedeke is going to have that Ali Marpet rookie season where you're like, wow, this guy's an up-and-comer. I think it might take a little bit longer for Gedeke to be good. But I think Cade Otton, given the fact that his only competition ahead of him on that tight end depth chart is Cam Brate, who has looked like the best tight end at times at age 31, and then Kyle Rudolph, who has not impressed me. I am not impressed with Kyle Rudolph's ability to get open. He can't separate. He doesn't. There's no yards after the catch. He doesn't do a great job of catching the ball cleanly. I think that he was brought in really to be a blocking tight end and help in that aspect to kind of pick up some slack from Rob Gronkowski's departure. But when you look at Cade Otton, this guy is a better blocker than they expected from a technical standpoint. He's tenacious. He's got very good hands. He's already developed a rapport with Tom Brady. I think sooner rather than later, he becomes the starting tight end this year, based upon the fact that the guys ahead of them aren't superstars by any means. I think that he can rise up the depth chart in time. Not sure if it's going to happen in the first quarter or the first half of the season, but I think Otton becomes a guy that's going to see some favorable matchups because he's going to be on the field with Mike and Chris and Russell and Julio, and teams are going to forget about him, just like they forget about Cam Brate when he's out there.
He definitely has a huge window of opportunity to earn a starting role, which of course would be a big deal. And you mentioned Gedeke is going to be, he's the first guy to really get that opportunity. Remember, he's coming from like a small school in Central Michigan. So like, that's a big jump going from Central Michigan to the NFL. Not many people were totally betting on him. So he's kind of like an underdog, I guess you could say. And speaking of underdog, you have until Thursday to enter Best Ball Mania 3, where you can win up to $10 million in prizes. I believe the first place winner gets $2 million. So still a pretty nice chunk of change there. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy football. You draft your team with no in-season management, get the optimal score each week of the season, and have a shot at that $10 million in total prize money. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com or the App Store now and sign up with the promo code Pewter, and Underdog Fantasy is going to match your first deposit up to $100. Again, use the promo code Pewter, and sign up and get your deposit matched up to $100. Even if you learn from Plant City math, you can understand that. And on top of that, even when Best Ball Mania 3 is done, again, get your picks in by Thursday, you also have the pick'ems all season long. They've been doing it.
Love the pick'ems.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. They've been doing it for the preseason. Of course, they're going to be doing it all for the regular season. You can either pick a head-to-head or an over-under. Head-to-head, of course, is you pick one player over the other that are battling each other in a matchup. But it's the easiest way to get some action on the NFL with the Underdog Fantasy Pick'ems. You pick an over-under or your favorite or least favorite player stats. You win up to 20 times your money in a single night. Underdog keeps it super simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile apps. You pick between 2 and 5 players. So the only thing is you got to pick at least 2. You can pick from 2 all the way up to 5. Fill out your pick'em slip, and if you get every single one right, you go home with some cold, hard cash. So one more time, use the promo code Pewter and get your first deposit matched up to $100. I am also looking for about one more person to join my Pewter Report Underdog Fantasy League. If you guys want to go up against me, just hit my email up at matt@pewterreport.com. We'd love to have you. A lot of trash talking going on all season long. And of course, you pick your team, you set it and forget it. So
I'm going to be doing my draft tomorrow night, and I'll be sending out an email later tonight with the details on that. So if you've emailed me, stay tuned for that email, and we'll do the draft tomorrow night, probably around 8 o'clock Eastern time. Getting back to the predictions real quick, and then we're going to get the JCs. We'll go through JCs really fast here, but best free agent acquisition, a lot of guys to choose from. I picked Akeem Hicks. I think that he's more athletic than Ndamukong Suh. As long as he stays healthy, he's going to help not just on the run game, but also in the pass rush. And if you haven't had a chance to go to Pewter Report TV, which is our YouTube channel, go there and watch Josh Capo's breakdown of Hicks. He did a great job over the weekend. And it really shows you how different this guy is from Suh. Do you like this selection of Hicks, or is there another free agent acquisition that you think might be a better one?
I really like the selection. I absolutely do. I have no problems with it. If I was just picking one, though, I'd probably, just in my opinion, I would just go with Russell Gage. I just love that he's an insurance policy. If Chris Godwin is not there, I love what he can do with this team. If Chris Godwin is there, I think Julio Jones is
good stuff, Matt. I agree.
Probably just this season. I wouldn't really expect anything else from Julio Jones besides this season. So I think Russell Gage, for the long-term effect that he's going to have with this team, Gage would be my guy. I think Hicks is going to be great, but you also already have Vita down there, and Logan Hall is going to have an impact. I'm not trying to, knock down the pick of Akeem Hicks. I think he's going to be great. I just think, again, injury history, you have to factor that in with him. And Gage, the more weapons you can get to Tom Brady, the better. So I think absolutely he's going to be a huge factor for the Bucs. I
agree. A couple questions real quick. Tony Saylor, PR going to Dallas to cover the game? Yes, Bailey Adams will be going to Dallas as our on-location reporter. I will be at the Wesley Chapel walk-ons for the Celsius Pewter Report tailgate show, and that is going to be this Sunday at the Wesley Chapel location. I'll be there with J.C. Allen and also with John Gilmore, our ace reporter, former player out there as well. So I'll be there. Matt's going to be with Casey Hudson doing Pewter Game Day, and that starts at 8:20 p.m. on Sunday, right after our tailgate show. So just start tuning in at 6:30 on Sunday, and we'll take you all the way up to and through the game, and we're looking forward to that. That's going to be some good stuff on Sunday. So Bailey Adams will be in Dallas along with Cliff Welch. Had another question, too. This one was from Mark Fisher. Hard to cross the middle after that injury. How do they put it behind him? Guys like Godwin, it just taking that first hit, right? That's something even Todd Bowles talked about. You got to take that hit, and you got to realize you can get up, and you didn't blow your knee out again, and everything's fine, and everything's right with the world, and carry on. So I think that's the only way to play through it, is to play through it. And that's what Chris Godwin's going to have to deal with in week 1 if he comes back then, or if it is in week 2 against the Saints. Most improved offense and defensive players. These were kind of easy. Robert Hainsey, he's got no choice but to improve, right? I mean, This guy didn't play last year. So I don't know if there's any other player that has as much room to grow that was here a year ago as Robert Hainsey. He better be in most improved by the end of this season. Otherwise, the Bucs are in trouble. Most improved on defense, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, again, a player that has so much potential, so much promise, so much athletic ability with more playing time and a year under his belt. Matt, it's hard to see this guy and Shaq Barrett not being bookends. What do you think about Hainsey and JTS?
Yeah, I'm completely with you, especially for Hainsey. Like on the offensive side of the ball, it's like, well, how much better can Mike Evans really get? And, with some of those guys. And I think anyone else that's in the running for that competition just wouldn't get enough playing time. Like immediately I was thinking, oh, Keyshawn Vaughn had a pretty good preseason, but Keyshawn Vaughn's not going to be getting snaps in a game unless it's garbage time or something happens to Leonard Fournette and Rachaad White. So I completely agree with you there. It has to be Hainsey, kind of like by default. For outside linebacker, I'm extremely excited with Shaq and JTS. I just think, as you said, bookend, absolutely going to be a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. As far as most improved, JTS is definitely a candidate, and I wouldn't really argue against that. The only other players I would throw out there, again, Devon White, as we talked about, subpar season last year. If he becomes superstar Devon White, you could make the argument for him. I also think if we live in a crazy world where the Bucs defensive backs finally start intercepting the ball instead of getting those PBUs, I think you can make a case for even Carlton Davis, as much as he's been a shutdown guy. If he gets those interceptions and gets a Pro Bowl nod or an All-Pro consideration, you can make the case for him. Same with Jamel Dean, who's just in the same camp of hold on to the damn ball, man. But I think if they start getting some more picks, you could argue that they could be most improved.
We're going to go through JC Allen's 10 bold predictions for the Bucs, rapid fire. We're just going to kind of give you our thoughts, yes or no, if we agree with them. Julio Jones gets 10 touchdown receptions this year. I don't see that number happening. I'd say maybe 5 would be an ideal number, but I just don't think he's going to get targeted that many times in the red zone. I think teams are going to try to take Julio away.
Yeah, I was going to say 6 or 7. There's just so many options for the Bucs, so many different ways that they can score.
Yeah.
And, it's not easy.
Devon White, all-pro season. He's going to be not just an all-pro this year, not just a Pro Bowler, but he's going to finish 3rd in Defensive Player of the Year honors. I don't know if Devon's going to make that leap this year. I think another return to the Pro Bowl, maybe one where he's more deserving, is in the offering. But an all-pro and a Defensive Player of the Year, I wouldn't rule it out, but I wouldn't forecast it either, Matt. What say you?
I think he's got a chance with the popularity vote. I mean, we saw guys like Diggs, the corner for the Cowboys, like he got a lot of accolades because he got a lot of interceptions, but people turned a blind eye to the fact that he would get cooked a lot too. So I think the popularity vote might help him out. I'm not ready to say all-pro or 3rd in Defensive Player of the Year, but they're bold for a reason, right?
That's right. Another bold prediction was the Bucs defense leading the NFL in sacks with 50 plus. They've only gotten over 50 sacks one time. That was 55 sacks, which is the team record. And that was in, I believe, 2000. Warren Sapp had 16 and a half of those. So I think 50 is doable, but boy, the Pittsburgh Steelers always seem to lead the league in sacks. I don't know if the Bucs are going to lead the league in sacks, but I say they get 50. They had 47 last year and 48 the year before, 47 in Todd Bowles' first season. So yeah, I could see them get 50.
Yeah, we'll have to see with the Steelers this year too, because they obviously have a huge change on the offensive side of the ball. So if they're down a lot more, then opponents won't have to pass it as much against that pass rush. I totally think 50 is in the cards for the Bucs, though. From Shaq and JTS to running more stunts up front, getting quicker on the defensive line, and then, Todd Bowles' crazy, chaotic blitzing schemes and sending Lavonte and Devin there. I absolutely think 50 is well within reason for this team. I do not necessarily think that this next bold prediction is going to happen. Jalen Darden scores a touchdown on a return. I mean, just getting a return over 15 yards would be, a pretty bold statement for the Bucs return team.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the Bucs punt return game is that good. Carlton Davis becomes a Pro Bowl cornerback. I'm not going to throw shade at Carlton, but I think that he drops too many interceptions still until he shows he can catch him. I don't think he is a Pro Bowl caliber cornerback just quite yet.
I think he is. I think he's got all the makings of a guy that, and we've seen this with the Bucs. You just put them on the opponent's best receiver, and that's what Carlton's been doing for this team. It's just been a matter of the PBUs into INTs. So I
Yeah.
really think, and it's not like he needs to get like 7 or 8 interceptions.
Yeah,
I
just 5 or
think he needs
6.
to get, I would say like 4 or 5 interceptions
Yeah.
for Carlton. That's a great year. If you bring in the status of, all right, he's already a shutdown corner and now he's getting the interceptions.
Yeah.
I think he could generate some buzz to definitely get that, get that Pro Bowl nod that he's really been looking for. But you mentioned not throwing shade at Carlton Davis, of course, Scott, but you do want privacy and shade when it comes to being comfortable in your own home. And I think the perfect place to go and do that is with Florida Lanai curtains.
That's exactly right. We live in Florida because we love the warm weather, and the 2 most common complaints about spending time outside of our Florida homes is the lack of privacy, where homes are being built on top of each other now with all this new construction. And then the brutal heat of the warmer months, which, by the way, it continues into September and October. Lack of privacy and too much sun can drive you inside and keep you away from your screened-in lanais and your pools. And in those outdoor spaces that you want to enjoy, that's where Florida Lanai Curtains comes in. They solve both these problems with a privacy on-demand patented outdoor privacy curtain system and their custom-made screen enclosure shade sails. The flexible installation options and high-quality products give you privacy and shade just where you need them. Privacy on-demand outdoor curtains are made from the well-known Sunbrella brand of marine canvas. That's what sold me. That's why I've got privacy on demand Florida Lanai curtains installed at my house around my pool. They're backed by a 10-year fade-free warranty and available in over 100 colors that's going to match the back of your property, and it's going to enhance the look and comfort of your outdoor space. Their unique shade sails are made from the Solamesh fabric, which has a 10-year warranty against degradation, and they're built to give you shade and UV protection for years to come. So, folks, if you need privacy or shade like I wanted, and you want more freedom to enjoy your outdoor space and your lanai and your pool, visit the Florida Lanai Curtains website at lanai-curtains.com, where you can find out about their amazing custom products and do your own hassle-free instant online estimate. It's risk-free. Just visit lanai-curtains.com or give them a call at 813-337-2511 to schedule a free in-home consultation. Well worth the investment. One of the best things I've done for my home. That's Florida Lanai Curtains. Visit them on the web at lanai-curtains.com. We're going to throw some more shade at J.C. Allen here because he has one prediction that's going to make Buck fans upset, and I think one that they're going to like. Let's get to them real quick. Antoine Winfield Jr. becomes an All-Pro. I think that's possible, but Matt, Mike Evans falling short of 1,000 yards, I just don't see it happening unless Mike misses some games due to injury. They're going to get Mike this 1,000 yards. They always do.
Yeah, we've seen it before. The Bucs work with players to make sure that they hit their incentives and things like that. I think if all the receivers were healthy, sure, I could see that being a struggle because there's only one ball. But with the injuries going on with Godwin, if he's coming back, Julio probably should be on a pitch count. I think Mike gets a bulk of the work done kind of early in the season as those guys get eased along. But I think Mike gets it again.
Rob Gronkowski returns to the Bucs. J.C. Allen, that's not an inside scoop. That's just a prediction, folks. But let's see if J.C. ends up being right about that. He thinks December is when Rob comes back, when Tom Brady comes calling. And don't be surprised if Jamel Dean has a better year than Carlton Davis, says Ann. We appreciate that super chat.
Thank you, Ann.
We appreciate all the super chats. As we round out the predictions, and we appreciate everybody tuning in today, Zion McCollum becomes a starting cornerback. Matt, I can see that happening. I think Jamel Dean would have to fall off a little bit, but Zion missed those 2 preseason games. I think that set him back, the Tennessee game and the Colts game, after a pretty good showing outside of one play against the Dolphins. What say you about Gronk and Zion McCollum?
Gronk, I just don't see it. I'm more curious than anything because if the tight ends are playing well as a group, if Otten's doing his thing, Cam Brate, if the Bucs are winning and the tight ends are performing well, it's are you really going to push that to the side to bring in Gronk, who I get it, he's fresh off the bench and he's Gronk, but you still got to get into football shape and everything like that in December. I don't know if that really benefits everyone. McCollum, I agree with you. I do think that hamstring injury is going to hold him back. I mean, he still didn't practice last week. We'll see if he's out, or Monday, I should say. We'll see if he's out there this week. If he has to miss like a little bit more time, that's only going to set you back further and further.
Right.
So I do think it would have to be something where Dean struggles. But even if Dean struggles, like Sean Murphy Bunting is in the competition for this job. Yeah, so I don't see it with McCollum this year, but I do think in future years could definitely do something with this team.
A final prediction from JC: Bucs win the Super Bowl. Tom Brady retires. That's the storybook ending everybody wants to see, TB12 included. Does that happen, Matt? I'm not going to rule it out. I'm not going to forecast that it's going to happen this year. I think a lot of things have to go. I've got the Bucs going 11-6, winning the division, getting to the playoffs. I'm not about to put a Super Bowl prediction out there right now to start the season, though. What say you? I do think this is Brady's last year, though.
Brady makes the Super Bowl like every other year, so he's on pace to make it this season. So I think that's why
J-Lo's getting married too, isn't that the other thing out there?
Yeah, I think that's another addition to it. So if you go by just what he's done his entire career, I think the Bucs are going to be back, and I think although the Saints have gotten a little bit stronger, you could also argue the Packers have gotten weaker, the Cowboys have gotten a little bit weaker. So the path and the Niners don't know what they got with their quarterback situation. Yeah. So the path to the Lombardi Trophy, or at least getting to the Super Bowl, I think is a little bit better than it was last season, even though things kind of played out in the playoffs where all they had to do was beat the Rams. But with some of the top teams struggle, on paper, not looking as great as they were a year ago, I think that helps the Bucs, who only, reloaded with their group on offense and defense.
The path to Pewter Report getting to 10,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV, involves you. If you have already subscribed, we appreciate that very much. It helps our algorithm when you hit the like button too in our videos. So make sure that you are hitting the like button on all the Pewter Report podcasts, all the great content that Josh, Matt, and Casey put up on our YouTube page. Again, that's Pewter Report TV. Make sure you're subscribing. We're just about at 9,200. So help us get to 10,000 sooner rather than later. We always appreciate you, Pewter people. We appreciate you all with your super chats today. We greatly appreciate that. We just take that money, put it right back into the show for better equipment, stuff to take out to our remotes. And keep in mind, this Saturday, we're going to be live at Walk-Ons for the Celsius Pewter Report Tailgate Show presented by Age Rejuvenation at the Wesley Chapel location 2 hours prior to kickoff. Come out there and say hi to myself, JC Allen, and also John Gilmore, former Bucs tight end. John's a great guy, good friend of mine. And then right after that, of course, is Pewter Game Day, brought to you by Celsius, live in-game analysis with Matt Matera, Casey Hudson. That's coming your way Sunday, right after the Pewter Report Tailgate Show. So we also want to invite you to come out tomorrow. Matt, I was really happy with this show. I think this is probably the best Pewter Report podcast we've ever done. The good news, Matt, is we get a chance to do it again tomorrow with our Bucs-Cowboys game preview at 4 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, we try to get better each and every single day, and that is our plan. Even though we had the best show of all time today, we're going to have an even better show tomorrow with our Bucs versus Cowboys preview.
Can't wait.
Again,
it's game week.
It's game week. Let's go. Bucs play this Sunday. So thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. For Matt Matera, I'm Scott. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera.
You can beat me if you want. I'm 50, so I'll trade places with you any day, man. That's fine.
Anyway, for the two of us, thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
Out.
Congrats to Kyle and Courtney on their engagement. Out.